Let's do our last segment here, Will. We are snake drafting our stats of interest for next season. So the way this is going to work is Will and I are going to go through and list the statistics that we are looking at the most for next season, basically, and we're going to draft them. So, for example, you can't say, because I'm going to use this as the example, Jokic points, like Jokic total points could be one. You have to list the player, or it could be a team stat. So you just say the player that you're looking at the stat for or the team.
All right, go ahead with your first pick.
You want me to go first? Okay, my number one overall pick here. I actually don't think you're going to take any of mine, so I'm not really worried. Jamal games played. I think that the most important thing that Jamal Murray can do for this team is stay on the floor, be healthy, be able to contribute to the team on the floor throughout the season. Even if he's going to be, worst of all time for him, right, by his standard, like he started off last season, it's better than when he's off the floor. Just puts more pressure on other players to have to fulfill that role. Whether he's, doing it at a high level or not. I really do think that 2 years ago, we saw, even if you think like bubble Jamal was like the best version of Jamal, I think of the 2023-24 regular season as his sort of second peak, because he was a great playmaker. He was efficient scoring, even if it wasn't always in volume. And when he was on the floor, he was providing a lot of impact for the team, even in like games where he didn't have a super impressive box score. The main problem that season with him was he kept getting injured throughout the year, and the team really struggled in those stretches. So that's going to be my big one, is Jamal games played.
I might go with Jamal effective field goal percentage.
Interesting. Okay. Explain yourself.
I just know that he's going to have to be a really effective player for us. And I didn't know if I could include 3-point attempt and 3-point percentage into one. Okay. Well,
okay. I see.
So I was like, those
are two different things, Will. You got to draft two different things.
So that's why I'm just going to go with effective field goal percentage, because that puts in his 3-point, it puts in his 2-point mid range, and it weighs it all out. He's going to have to be efficient, and his shot's going to have to be on for us to have the title hopes that we dream of. He's going to have to have a big season, and that's going to be one. Like, he's always like a pretty good shooter, and I do want to monitor his 3-point attempts, because I've always wanted them to go up a little bit versus the mid range, but I don't know that he's ever going to change that at this point. And he is a tough shot maker, but I want more consistency in the season, and I don't want to see lower percentages for his shot as we go through the regular season.
I was looking this up because I thought you brought this up because he'd fluctuated in his career. But for the last 4 seasons that he's been on the floor, so excluding the 21-22 season, he's hovered between 53.7 and 55.9 effective field goal percentage every year since. Last year he was 54.3, for example. And then pre-bubble, he was more around like 50, 51, 52. So big leap after that, after the bubble. Pretty like sizable bump. But then not like pretty much plateaued there. Yeah.
If he stays at that level, because like I said, like his shot is always pretty good. Like I feel like some fans think of him as, he's not like as streaky as MPJ. Like he's so much more solid. But I just want to make sure that he's really efficient and is having one of the better years of his career. And I hope he gets back to...
You know what year he peaked in terms of 3-point attempts per game?
22?
It's actually tied between... You mean 23?
Yeah.
He wasn't there in 23.
I meant, yeah.
So it was 2023 tied with 2021 at 6.6 attempts per game. It's gone down over an attempt per... Or not over an attempt, but almost an attempt per game in the 2 seasons since the title, which is interesting because he's been playing more minutes. That's also when he had to take on a lot more on-ball responsibility, to be fair. So if I dug into these numbers deeper, I'd probably find that it was his catch and shoot attempts that went down in those seasons compared to the pull-up attempts. But he also doesn't take enough pull-up threes for either of our tastes, right? So not really an excuse, but that's definitely, something to consider. So I think that's a fine stat, especially you think about it. A lot of the reason his efficiency is kind of like good but middling is that he doesn't take enough threes relative to pull up twos. So if he did take more pull up threes, maybe his effective field goal percentage just goes up because he's taking more efficient jump shots than he has in the past. All right, since we're doing the sneak draft style, you get another guess here.
CB 3-point shot quality.
Interesting. So they actually, cleaning the glass does have a shot quality metric where they give you kind of like the expected, but it's usually like total effective field goal percentage. I don't know if they have one specifically for 3-point shots. But you basically want to know what the expected shot quality is for Christian's looks.
Yeah, and I want to know how open they are all the time, basically.
Okay.
Is more of what I was thinking.
They're going to be pretty open.
Yeah. I would love to see the open shots go down because I'm hoping teams might start respecting his shot a little more if he's shooting the ball well from there. Yeah, Red and White said his 3-point attempts and 3-point percentage. That, the 3-point percentage, I was even thinking about putting that on in addition to this. And I'm just thinking of this on the fly. I didn't write this down ahead of time. But yeah, like if he's just wide open on all the shots and they're never closing out to him and the spacing's still an issue with him in the starting lineup, that's a concern. But I'm hoping that things improve.
My next pick is going to be Denver opponent turnover percentage, because turnover percentage has been a more useful indicator over the last couple of years of a team's defensive rank, with some exceptions, some notable exceptions. Like last year, the Celtics were they were probably the only team, I'm pretty sure, in the top 10 defensively that were bottom 10 in forcing turnovers. Denver was bottom 10 in forcing turnovers, but also bottom 10 in defense. So we weren't doing much of anything to be particularly proud of on that end in the regular season. But if you think about the kinds of schemes that a lot of people think that David Adelman and Jared Dudley are going to want to employ in terms of the defense, more zone, more press, that even if you're not like constantly blitzing necessarily, it's another way to apply pressure on the opposing offense, another way to force turnovers. I would like to see that number go up. If nothing else, I definitely don't want to see it go down, because one of the things that we lost when Russell Westbrook decided, and Denver, let's say there was a mutual decision not to continue that relationship, is Russ's steal rate. And he was generating a lot of steals for the team in his minutes, of course, also generating a lot of turnovers, but we don't need to talk about that. Mostly looking at the opponent turnovers here, I don't want to see that go down because Denver was already I think 24th in that stat. It's really hard to win the possession game if you're not generating extra possessions in that way. So that is going to be one that I'm going to be watching throughout the year. Because it's like, if you guys are playing a lot of zone, like say the Miami Heat, and pressing Indiana too, and you're not generating turnovers, it's kind of like, are you executing the coverage right? Like, what is the point of what you're doing? Are you guys just kind of standing around here, like, going zone,
Is there any chance that trying to increase the turnover rate could lead to too many gambles that we're not able to execute well enough and giving up too many open buckets?
Well, yeah, that's the reason that you don't do it. But it's also, like I said, in terms of winning the math here, in terms of possessions, if you're not generating extra possessions with turnovers, you got to do it through like offensive rebounding, for example. And Denver is already a really good offensive rebounding team. There's not much that they can do to improve more on that end. Although I say that, and lots of teams sort of augment the advantage that they already have. Like last year when the Thunder added Alex Caruso to become an even better turnover forcing team, right? Or when the Rockets, get Steven Adams like fully healthy for a season and they add to their offensive rebounding ability. Maybe Denver does augment their offensive rebounding advantage by having, Jonas playing, especially in those non-Jokic minutes, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm primarily concerned with the defense. And I think, frankly, for the schemes that Denver wants to employ, like if I thought that Denver was going to be playing drop most of the time, I wouldn't care about this because it's not really relevant to the scheme that they're employing. But I know they're not going to do that because of what they tried at the end of the year. And it's just not really like a thing. Drop in particular is not a thing that they do. They like to employ aggressive and semi-aggressive coverages. And if you're not generating turnovers, I question whether those are the schemes for you, because it's kind of like part of the goal of those schemes too, if that makes sense.
Was a great recipe for OKC, and other teams may start to try to implement that to give themselves more of a chance. All right, you have the next pick as well.
I'm going to go with Peyton Watson defensive rating. The reason you don't go with individual player defensive ratings, it's not really like a useful statistic in any like serious sense. But when you have really impactful defensive players, especially relative to the other players on the floor, you want to see that impact manifesting itself in the overall team defense on the floor. Peyton Watson did not have that last year, even in the regular season, where I thought he was better overall than he was in the playoffs. And so it's more like Peyton's defensive on-off is something I'd like to see be positive instead of negative. So even if he is playing more with bench lineups, I want to see those bench lineups be better. I want to see like, okay, this translates into an actual tangible defensive difference for the team on the floor. And part of that is not just, him using his tools in one-on-one situations, but becoming a better team defender, staying more disciplined in the way that he uses those tools, et cetera, et cetera.
Nice. Yeah. That's a good one. That's one I could have picked for sure. And I might do another Pwat one. Who knows? Okay, I'm going to do starting 5 lineup minutes. I'll just do starting 5 minutes.
Okay.
And just see how much we're relying on our starting 5. Like, because classically they're one of the most played units in the league as far as lineups. And so I think that's going to change. I think we're going to have more variance in lineups we're playing and with the depth added. And I think this will indicate, Jokic's minutes, Jamal's minutes, AG's minutes as well, and hope that they're, not being relied on too much to where they can get injured. If you believe that the more you play, you're more susceptible to injury, which the NBA disputes. But I think we all want to see them having to play less in the regular season so they're fresh for the playoffs. And we want to see the bench units not be so unreliable that we have to get that starting 5 back in because it's the only competent lineup. And I think we're going to see that plummet much more than before. So I think that'll be a good thing for the team.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think Vyacheslav, I've heard this from a lot of people. We need to actually see it in practice. I don't think, besides going zone sometimes, that there's a ton of evidence for that. Like, I actually think the offense was more stagnant in these playoffs than in past years, but there's a variety of reasons for that. So I'm not going to put it necessarily on coaching. But yeah, we're gonna see what ends up being the case.
From what he said, he seems to have the right idea about it, but yeah, you have to actually see how it works
his
out.
Idea is what he's said is we're not changing our schemes because we don't have to. What we need to do is improve our execution of those schemes. So I don't.
Well, yeah.
I think that everybody's kind of choosing to hear what they want to hear from Adelman, and we need to actually see it on the floor before we project forward what it's going to be.
He did say he's not necessarily going to stick with guys just because of their reputation or the veteran status, and he was willing to close with different people or not close with Mike. I know we did that in the championship year, but supposedly he was. Well, Malone was a little bit less willing, which was something in years.
People complained about, by the way. It's why don't you trust Mike more? So,
yeah, that's true.
I don't know. It's kind of I don't know. I don't think that there's... Let's actually see like a full season of this instead of like 3 regular season games and then get thrown into the playoff fire and try to extrapolate from a small sample size.
Well, he definitely has more to work with than
absolutely
you would think. So that's another reason.
That's true.
So hopefully
he will do more different things because he does have more to work with. So just at baseline.
And Malone probably would have too, to be fair.
To your point about the starting five's minutes, by the way, in the title year, the starting five played 1,500 or just under 1,500 possessions together. In 23-24, when we didn't have Bruce anymore to be that kind of 6-starter spark plug guy, but obviously we had more like Reggie Jackson, Justin Holiday, Julian and Peyton were playing more playing roles in the lineup as well. They played 1,900 minutes together as the starting five. This past season, it was only less than 900, not minutes, possessions, I should say. But that was largely because of AG's injuries. So if I were to sort of project out, like based on AG missing, like a lot of that is just because AG was out.
Wasn't there, yeah.
Then it ends up being closer to that 1,400 to 1,500 minutes mark that they had in the title year, actually. Which is interesting because we did not have the kind of like reliable guys that you could like slot in.
Yeah.
In that sense. Although like Russ was basically just like that dude. He basically did what Bruce did in that year and just kind of filled in whenever anybody was out.
To the point where people were debating keeping him in the starting five. Now he's not even on the team.
And then complaining about that too.
Yeah.
Anyway. I think that's an interesting one because it tells you more about, hopefully it tells you less about injuries. We're just going to assume that there's no major injuries in the starting lineup throughout the season. And then it could just tell you more about the lineup versatility that we have acquired, hopefully.
All right. So I got one more to pick. I'm going to do Cam Johnson games played for me.
I like that.
Because if it's not where we need it to be, we're going to be struggling more than I want. And he is important to the team and his role with the 3-point shot. He needs to bring that. That is a skill set that needs to be there night in and night out. And if he's missing games or only playing 60 games a season, or people are going to start getting panicked. So I trust in Cam and I'm so excited to watch him, but I don't want to have to worry about it anymore. So I want to see the games played number be solid, and we won't know until the regular season's done. So we have a ways to go on that, but hopefully the number is high.
Ooh, it's also important for his potential contract extension, whether they do it this summer. I'm starting to think that they're not going to extend Cam this summer, by the way. We've been talking kind of on and off about whether Christian or Peyton was going to happen. Maybe it's one of those things wouldn't do it before they do, or like figure out the Christian and Peyton stuff. But the longer that goes on, the more I think they're just going to figure out Cam next year, which I don't love because I do think he's going to outplay his current contract. So I'd rather extend him off of this number than extend him off of another season where he's like, you know what? I'm just going to go to unrestricted free agency and make you guys have to pay me even more the following year.
Yeah, we should just do it. I just think the sooner the better sometimes when you trade for these guys. If you like believe in them, which I'm pretty sure we do.
Especially if you spent like valuable assets to get him. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Okay, my next stat is going to be DaRon Holmes minutes per game, because if he's only playing garbage time, he's not going to break like 7 or 8 minutes per game. But if he's playing the rotation, he probably cracks 10, and he can play in the rotation with people healthy or not, because like I said, I've said on the show before, our power forward depth is sorely lacking. And the other reason that I bring this up is that because Peyton Watson has a lot more competition on the wing this year, he's really gonna be fighting in terms of getting like substantial minutes. He's probably gonna be fighting more to get minutes at the floor, minutes at power forward. And maybe not fighting because his competition is DaRon, who is a rookie coming off an Achilles, and Zeke Naji. But hopefully fighting some with DaRon for that spot whenever we want to get a little bit bigger in some lineups. and just have, another body out there, get DaRon some runs, see how he can figure into lineups as a stretch four and things like that. And so I would like to see DaRon playing more than 7 minutes a game, which implies that he's playing more than just garbage time.
I can't wait to see too. I hope he plays. Like I want him to be a contributor. I don't want him to be rookie player who just struggling to find time, because I think should he be healthy and able to move freely and not be mentally limited by, coming back from this injury, which is understandable, I think he has the potential to really show something, and I'm excited to see him play and develop. Rookies sometimes don't get playing time, and they're new and they're fresh, and
especially when they're coming off of a year-long injury, right?
And the Achilles injury,
it's not going to be easy.
That's a trippy injury to get over.
I do think that there will come a point in the season where if they haven't figured out a way to integrate him into the rotation, they're just going to send him to the G League so that he can keep getting reps, right?
Yeah, that's
what he hasn't really had that opportunity, and it's probably more important for him now than ever to get reps under his belt, regardless of whether they're with the main team or with the G League, because he just needs to get his wind and, figure out how to, fit in the system. And he didn't get to do that last year, obviously, because of the injury. At least when Peyton wasn't playing with the main team his rookie year, he was off with the G League, with the Grand Rapids Gold in that, trying to, do all the things I just said. I expect DaRon to get reps in some way, but I want to see him do it, obviously, with the main team. All right, my last stat here. What is going to be most important to Denver's title odds, or just general upside, or agendas? All right, I'm going to go with Cam Johnson assists per game. Because even though he has not been a high assist guy, basically anywhere, he's been a definitively low assist guy, even though he has more assists per game than MPJ. I just think our team is the best passing offense that he's ever played in, because the others were the Suns, and then obviously the Nets were not that. And he's going to be a good connective passer within our system. So I think he's going to probably get closer to kind of what AG averages, which is, I think, let's see, last year, Aaron Gordon, I think it was just under 4 assists per game. Looking for his name on this roster here. And further away from MPJ's 2 assists per game. So AG, okay, last year was not a great one for AG. Actually, it was more 2.7. The year before, he was at 4.4. So AG actually averages fewer assists than I thought. He averages more than MPJ, but it's only by half an assist per game, which is interesting. To be fair, though, he doesn't touch the ball nearly as much as MPJ does, and obviously MPJ, shoots it a lot of the time. So I think that Cam is going to touch the ball as much as MPJ and get closer to AG's assist rate, which I think is going to translate to something closer to 4 assists per game. That's my my conjecture, my hypothesis. We'll see what comes of it in next season.
I'm excited for that one for sure. I just think that'll be a different kind of dynamic in the Nuggets, starting 5 that you think about that hasn't really been there before. So it's definitely, and it's, AG has the ability to facilitate. I like his passing game. It's just, he doesn't get the opportunity as much, which you kind of understand. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. So yours is complete.
Yeah.
I'll pick my last one, and then it's going to involve Pwat and something about offense. I don't know.
I had a good one, but it was last year kind of spoiled it.
Oh. About Pwat?
Related to Pwat in offense, yeah.
I can't decide if I want to, what aspect I want to go with. If I just want to go with overall, points per game, or, specifically rim finishing, or, a 3-point thing. But I guess I'll just do Pwat rim finishing, because at least he can be somewhat impactful if he just finishes dunks, or he's not going for, a one-hand tomahawk dunk, and actually just prioritizes putting the ball in the basket. And that's a way to just make an impact on offense where he already struggles to do so. So, and it's just like weird that he's not able to do it. Like that should be something you should easily improve on. If that's not improving, that's probably a really bad sign. 3-point shot, it's like it was 35%, I think, last season. It's not horrible, but could be a lot better. You kind of understand someone struggling from 3, or like it's not a sniper from 3 when, you know, you're still young and maybe that's not your archetype as a player. Role players are forced into the 3-and-D archetype for sure because it's the easiest way to like fit in, but sometimes you don't work out that way. And this is something that he should be able to add to his game at least.
Yes, I agree. This was exactly what I was thinking about saying for this, for Pwat's offense. But last year, and you and I talked about it, Will, Pwat was finishing layups at like 80% through maybe half the season, like early January. And we were like, this feels like an accident. And then it fell precipitously.
It wasn't like CB where it was crazy and then it just stayed crazy.
Right. And also like CB was like, these are like strong finishes. With Peyton's, it literally felt like an accident when the ball went in. So I would like to my answer for this, if I were modifying it in like a hypothetical like redo of this, because it's not really a stat, is like my vibes when I watch Peyton go up for a dunk or a layup. That's
your internal stat. Confidence.
It's like how I feel, in that moment.
I think he'll probably turn that around.
All right. Well, for everybody that's made it this far in the stream, you guys are real ones. We appreciate the hell out of you guys. Like, you guys are the real nerds here. We got Vyacheslav still hanging out in the chat for sure. If you'd like our content, please remember to click the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. Remember to follow us on social media. All our social links are in the description: Instagram, TikTok, etc., etc. And always remember that winning is fun and losing absolutely sucks, especially losing national TV games. Although
you won't even remember what losing is like.
Did the same.